Nope. That's it. I said if a dragon died, I was done with this. Sorry, Game of Thrones. You lost me as a fan. All right, maybe we can just talk about 7 more episodes though. Grassi Posse, what's going on? Thank you so much for tuning into another episode of Game of Toms. I am your host, Tom Grassi, and today we are breaking down the phenomenal episode 6. Right off the bat, I'm going to give this a 10 out of 10. This was an incredible episode. It had amazing action, it had amazing dialogue, and it was everything that anyone could ever want in a Game of Thrones episode. But why did you kill the dragon? You had one job, HBO, just to keep 3 of them alive. You could kill literally anybody else, except Brienne and Tormund. Don't you ever touch them. Anybody else. Jon Snow would have died. It would have been a little bit sad. Who cares? Daenerys dies. Surprising, shocking, absolutely. But a dragon? A dragon? And by the way, where's Ghost? Nobody knows. Is he just hanging out at Winterfell? What's going on? Are we never going to see him again? Did we really just blow all of our budget into the murdering of a dragon? So let's break down this episode. Sorry. Right off the bat, we have these amazing characters going into the north, picking right up where we left off. We have Tormund with this amazing banter. It has amazing banter with the Hound, and it's incredible. I love the part where they're talking about Brienne, and they're talking about the big woman, and the Hound is like, she wants to carve out your liver and kill you, and he's like, you do know her. I want to make babies with her. That is the relationship I care about the most. Listen, I know Daenerys and Jon are eventually... I've been calling it all season that they're going to do things together because they're aunt and nephew. But Tormund and Brienne, they need to outlive all of them and make beautiful, huge babies. I don't care about Jaime and Brienne. Absolutely not. I don't ship them. It is absolutely Tormund and Brienne. But just amazing. The way to start off the episode. You also have Jon giving his Valyrian steel blade, Longclaw, to Jorah. And listen, Jon, I understand the sentiment, and it was very sweet, and it was very heartfelt, but at the same time, bro, you're going to kill White Walkers, and you have literally the only thing that can kill White Walkers. You might want to wait for the ceremony to give it back to Jorah. But Jorah doesn't accept it, and says it to pass it on to his children, which I think Jorah might have finally accepted it, all right, I'm not going to get Daenerys, this guy might. But again, you have the fact that Daenerys, it came up again in this episode, that Daenerys can't have children. So who's Jon going to have kids with? And if it is Daenerys, what kind of voodoo magic plot convenience needs to happen in order for them to make babies? I don't know. We will see. Arya and Sansa also went at it at this episode. So you talk about her reading the letter, which is the old letter back from many seasons ago, writing to Robb to come and bend the knee, which kind of, I like all the callbacks to the earlier seasons, but this one, I feel like Arya had a good reason to do it, because again, she wasn't there for everything that Sansa has been through. But at the same time, if you're Sansa, you're just like, hey, I wrote this under duress. This wasn't the reason that Robb got killed. So at the same time, I really don't know what she's bugging out about so much. I think it could be easily explained, but I understand that you need to have the tension there in the plot. Also, Arya and Sansa basically having a pissing contest of well, terrible things happen to me, and Sansa's like, well, terrible things happen to me too. I don't know. I feel like this is just the way of extending Littlefinger's influence and his character. He's dead next episode. There's no way. I guarantee that he is dead next episode. I think he should have done something else or have been dead already, but I see this backfiring. Considering Arya didn't kill Sansa this episode, I see it backfiring on Littlefinger and him dying next episode. Also, you have a couple interactions going back to the north, like Beric and Jon, and talking about death is the enemy, which is, the name of the episode. But you have these interactions of characters who either haven't met or haven't met for a very long time, and it really is all coming together. And I still think that this was a stupid ass plan. Like, let me get down there out on the record, because the fact that you're going into the North to fight 100,000 like army of the dead, and you're just like, we're just gonna take one of them. This was never going to end well. You also have Tyrion and Daenerys talking, and they bring up Jon Snow, and it felt like you were like looking in at like two high school girls talking, like, oh my god, do you think Jon like likes me like likes me because I like him. I mean, he doesn't love me, right? Like, I totally like him though. Like, that's basically what it felt like. And Tyrion is at the same time, he's like, hey, I want to rein you in, and he brings up the fact that she can't have kids, and I really don't think this is the right time to do that, because Tyrion's reputation with Daenerys is slowly fading away, as you see that Tyrion really does have at least some loyalty to his family. And so, that being said, he's like, so, what will you do when you die? Not a good time to bring that up. And Daenerys was rightfully upset about that. Then you also had the undead bear scene, which was absolutely terrifying, and it eventually would kill Thoros. So Beric is not allowed to be resurrected anymore, so that's ixnay. So that cat, he's had 6 lives before, he's on his last one, too short of being a cat, but Beric is on his very last life. Thoros, R.I.P., you were kind of cool, you were a drunk guy, I mean, didn't really lose any. One of the things that actually really annoyed me about this episode was the fact that you saw all these main characters going out at the end of the last episode, and you're like, oh man, who's gonna die? And then apparently there was a bunch of random characters thrown in there too. So, I mean, every time that I thought someone was dead, I was like, oh my god, wait, there's so much going on. Who died? Oh wait, it's just another random character that we don't care about, and it's like a faceless person. So, that was a little bit annoying, but what are you gonna do? One of the big things that came out of this episode, though, is the whole, like, kill the queen, kill them all kind of thing. Like, you kill the vampire that turned you, all his little spawn die. We found out that is the case with the White Walkers. So when Jon kills the White Walkers, all the whites that were around him, except for one, die. And so you can assume that if a White Walker turns 50, people into whites, that if that White Walker dies, those 50 whites die as well. So the goal is, as it always has been, is to kill the Night King, and then theoretically they will all die, since the Night King is the very first White Walker. I don't know how I feel about that. It seems kind of, like, cheap. And I mean, considering all the, like, times that has been used before in, like, movies and video games, that, like, you just gotta kill the leader and they all die. It kind of seems super convenient. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. It seems like lazy writing, and I don't know if that's George R.R. Martin, or I don't know if that's the showrunners. I mean, what do you think? Is that like the only logical place that they can go? I don't know. Let me know what you think about that. Also, Sansa being invited to King's Landing, and she's like, nope, Brienne, you are absolutely going to go represent me. And so what's going to be interesting is when you see the Hound is going to be in King's Landing. You're also going to have Brienne in King's Landing. It's going to be interesting to see those two hook up once again. You also... one of the other things that bothered me is and again, I gave it a 10 out of 10, but I got to nitpick at this. The concept of time has slowly been like thrown out the window this season as they're just like rushing everything. But when they send Gendry to run back, like he runs back, you don't know how much time has passed. And then they send a raven to Daenerys, and then Daenerys flies over, and all in that time span, our heroes are just like chilling in the middle of the lake. I feel like that has to take days. So, like, they're hanging out there for days with no food, no water, freezing to death. I don't know. Like, it's the slight things that bother me, and I don't know how you get around that, because they kind of wrote themselves into a corner. But that being said, it was awesome to see Daenerys ignoring Tyrion and kind of flying off, but she would eventually lose one of her children. The Hound also throwing rocks at the whites was fantastic, but then also realizing that the lake had frozen back over, and it was time for lots and lots of death to occur. By the way, Tormund almost dying was the most terrifying thing of this episode. The fact that he gets surrounded, I was like, no, and then, of course, you have Jon saving the day, everybody's saving the day, Tormund's okay, we're good. Also, convenient random people dying, but Daenerys does come and save the day with awesome music playing in the background. You see 3 dragons up and running. They're blowing all the White Walkers and Whites away, which is awesome. Also, by the way, I gotta do a shout out Project Runway, because like that Dany outfit, that was cool. I like that, the whole like white scale thing going on. It was really cool. But by the way, the whole Jon and Daenerys thing, like, I'm okay with it. I am. I've called it since the beginning. I'm okay with them getting together, but I love how Game of Thrones has just made me like casually okay with incest. Like, I love how there's so many people out there. They're like, oh my god, I want to see Daenerys and Jon together, and we're like, yeah, they're aunt and nephew. Oh, that doesn't matter anymore. Oh, okay. So thanks, Game of Thrones. But one of the big things of the episode, you can see my reaction. I filmed it while I was watching it. You could see it down below. The Night King killed a baby. He killed the dragon. He killed Viserion, the one named after Dany's brother. And by the way, the Night King should absolutely enter the Olympics for the javelin, because man, what a throw. I don't understand why you wouldn't kill Drogon that was right in front of you, because he literally was right in front of you. I don't know why you made it more difficult, but I guess he was just showing off. But that was heart-wrenching to watch Dany's reaction, to watch the fire and blood spurting out of the dragon and then falling into the lake was just heartbreaking. I didn't feel good about that. That was a very sad death. It's like the direwolves dying all over again. But also Drogon almost dying as well. But you actually had a sense that Jon might be dying here. He falls into a lake. He's surrounded by whites, and then he pulls himself out, gets surrounded by whites again. But Benjen comes out of nowhere and comes and saves him and gives him the horse. But Jon's like, hey, bro, just come with me. And Benjen's like, there's no time. What are you talking about? Literally pull Jon on the horse and ride away. What do you mean there's no time? You literally just stood there and killed yourself for no apparent reason. That's a slight thing that annoyed me too. I guess I was a little annoyed at this episode. I love the episode. 10 out of 10. But again, R.I.P. Benjen. But you were kind of already dead. I guess you were half dead, but now you're full dead. So R.I.P. but for real this time? We'll see what happens. Also, Jorah and Dany, when they're hanging out on the wall, I feel like this is like Jorah's last chance. He's like, yes, Jon is dead. This is my one chance. There's no one else here. I can finally hook up with Dany. Damn it, he's back. So Jorah is going to be forever in the friend zone. Also, before we get to the other scene, you have Sansa walking in and spying on Arya and going through and finding her bag of faces. Which, by the way, again, if you've never watched this show, and this is like the first episode you picked up on, and you just walk in and there's a girl finding a bag of faces. That's phenomenal. But Arya is totally like a serial killer there. And I actually thought for a second she would kill Sansa. But that was an amazing, bone-chilling episode. But again, considering Arya didn't kill Sansa, I have to think that it was either now or never. So I'm seeing this backfiring on Littlefinger. You also have Daenerys seeing the scars on Jon Snow, so knowing that when Davos was saying that he took a knife to the heart, he meant it literally. You saw the knife marks, wounds all over him. Jon wakes up, says, I'm so sorry. And Dany's like, I'm not, because you have to see it to know. And I feel like this is a double meaning, because, like, yes, you saw the White Walkers, and this is when she pledges herself to Jon, saying, like, I'm going to help you kill them. But I feel like she also had to see Jon in action, and she did. And they're holding hands, and this is when Jon bends the knee, and they're still holding hands. So he also calls her Dany, which was a little weird. But he bends the knee. I feel okay about that. It was a nice progression. It was a good scene. Daenerys seems taken aback by it. I'm going to be curious, though, when Jon eventually does go back to Winterfell, if he ever makes it back there this season, how everyone else is going to take that of like, hey, guys, I left to go down south. We have a new queen, by the way, so you're going to have to bend the knee to her, too. I'll be interested to see. And then, of course, the last scene, we got a Blue Eyes White Dragon here, people. We got full-blown Yu-Gi-Oh! You have the Night King and all of his minions pulling the dragon out, and turning him into a White Walker dragon. So you know what's happening. The finale's next week. You know that wall's coming down, because that dragon is just is going to blow that thing away. So now we have a full-blown dragon that the Night... I wonder if he's going to ride it. I hope he rides it. It's going to be crazy. I've hoped for this. I didn't want the dragon to die, but now he's like kind of still alive, so I'm okay with it. But Dany's now going to have to kill the dragon named after her brother. I feel like that's going to be hard for her, but I don't know what's going to happen next week. It's a 90-minute episode. Everyone's going down to King's Landing, basically to show Cersei, like, hey, look, the White Walkers are real. I'm curious to see how that is going to end, but I feel like next season is literally just going to be just about the White Walkers, and I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of casualties. Next week, I see maybe Littlefinger going, but who knows? Other things may happen. You could all let me know what you think. I mean, I love this episode. It was definitely a 10 out of 10. A lot happened, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they wrap it up this season. You can always find me at tomgrossicomedy.com, TOMGROSSI comedy, or at Tom Grossi Comedy on Twitter. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching Game of Toms. We'll see you for the finale. I can't believe it's here already next week. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.